Hello everyone and welcome back to UGC NET Commerce Simplified. I'm Nikita Singh and today we are going to understand one of the most important topics from Unit 1, Liberalization, Privatization and Globalization, also known as LPG Reforms of 1991. So this topic is extremely important because questions from this area appears almost every year in the UGC NET Commerce exam. So, to understand why the LPG reforms were introduced, let's look at the economic situation of India before 1991. So, during 1990s, India faced several challenges like low industrial growth, high fiscal deficit, rising imports and falling foreign exchange reserves. By mid 1991, India had only enough foreign exchange to cover 2 weeks of imports. To overcome this crisis, the government had to approach the IMF and World Bank for financial assistance. In return, India agreed to implement major structural economic reforms, which we now call the LPG reforms of 1991. So let's break down what each term means. Liberalization refers to reducing government control and restrictions on business industry. The aim was to make the economy more competitive and efficient by allowing greater freedom in production, pricing, and investment. So, the privatization means transferring ownership or management of public sector enterprises to the private sector. It encouraged efficiency, innovation, and profitability. Globalization refers to integrating the Indian economy with the world economy, although through trade, investment, technology, and capital flow. Coming on to the objectives of LPG reforms. So, the main objectives behind these reforms were to improve efficiency of the economy, to attract foreign investments, to increase competition in domestic markets, to promote exports and integrate India globally, to reduce the role of public sector in non-strategic areas. Coming on to major policy changes under liberalization. So the government introduced several policy changes as part of liberalization. Industrial licensing policy was largely abolished except for few industries related to national security and environment. Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practice Act was amended to remove restrictions on business expansion. Foreign investment policy was relaxed, allowing automatic approval of FDI up to certain limits. Import and export policy was revised to promote free trade. Financial sector reforms were introduced to modernize banking and capital markets. So, privatization measures. Under privatization, the government started disinvestment in public sector undertakings, which means selling part of its ownership to private players, allowing private participation in sectors like telecom, civil aviation. Civil aviation is related to transport facility of the civil, like aircrafts. Then banking and insurance, public private partnerships for infrastructure development. The idea was to make industries more efficient and less dependent on government support. Globalization measures. So, the globalization process aimed to connect India's economy with global markets. So, the key measures include reductions in import tariffs and export duties, encouragement of foreign direct investments, membership and active participation in WTO, technology transfer, and global collaborations. So, these steps helped Indian companies compete internationally and attract global investors. Coming on to impact of LPG reforms. So, the LPG reforms had significant impact on the Indian economy. Let's first discuss about the talk about the positive impacts. So, higher GDP growth, it increased in foreign investment, expansion of service sector, especially IT and telecom industries, greater competition and consumer choice. Coming on to its negative impacts, it increased income inequality, decline of some small scale industries, higher dependence on global markets. So in UGC NET Commerce exam, you can expect questions like related to the features of globalization in India, objectives of LPG reforms, differentiate between privatization and globalizations. So to summarize, the LPG reforms of 1991, we can say that it transformed India from a closed and regulated economy to a more open, market oriented one. So these reforms marked the beginning of India's economic modernization, making it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So that's all for today. Today's video on liberalization, privatization, and globalization. In the next video, we'll explore India's industrial policy and FDI trends, another frequently asked area in UGC NET Commerce. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to UGC NET Commerce Simplified for more detailed lessons. Thank you for watching.